Hey guys! Today I'm going to talk to you guys all about my breastfeeding class, and oh my goodness, it was a lot of information, a lot of stuff I did not know, and it's kind of all over the place. I took a lot of notes, and we got a book as well, but I didn't even really open it. With the birthing class, we kind of went page by page with the book. With the nursing class, a lot of it was like slides and the breastfeeding class, her thoughts, her opinions, because she's a lactation specialist. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of jump right in because there's a lot to cover, and if it's all over the place, I'm really sorry. I'm just reading literally my notes, and it's a lot. I came home and I read them to my husband. My husband did not go to the breastfeeding class with me, nor did he want to. So they asked that you bring someone who would help you with it. My husband just felt like he would not feel comfortable helping in that area, I guess. I think he'll be fine when the baby comes, but I guess boobs scare him right now. Well, he's really not scared by boobs, but I'm sure to guys, breastfeeding is a foreign thing, and he just thought my mom would be more helpful. And at the same time, if I was struggling, I'd probably call my mom about breastfeeding. So the first thing at the top of my notes says, I don't want my baby to have formula or a pacifier, because they say tell that to the hospital, to the nurses, anyone who comes in. Make sure they know that if you're wanting to strictly breastfeed, that you don't want your baby to have a bottle formula, because the bottle releases the formula and the milk faster, therefore your breasts take a little more work on the baby's part, and they get frustrated if they've had a bottle before. That's kind of how she explained it. And a pacifier creates nipple confusion. Now, I've heard it doesn't create nipple confusion, depends on the pacifier. I'm just telling you what she told us in class, and honestly what I'm probably going to do. I'm going to try and strictly breastfeed, so no formula and no pacifier, and I will go through when to introduce that as well, because we went over that. Skin to skin. So at my hospital, which if you're in Georgia, I'm delivering in Brazelton, and they promote skin to skin contact. So basically, the first hour, they do an hour of skin to skin, and the baby picks up good bacteria. So that's a reason to do it. It helps bond. It helps with breastfeeding easier. So skin to skin is really promoted at my hospital. Sorry, my son is playing outside. Just checking on him. I loved that I did the classes at my hospital, because I got to find out what they specifically promote and do. And I'm sorry you guys for the lighting. I need to get a ring light or something, because these lights are very orange. But when the sun goes down at 5 o'clock, and that's kind of the only time I can do it, when my son's homework is done, right before dinner, while dinner's cooking, I'm able to do this. So that is why it seems to be lately at this time. I've been working a lot more lately at my in-laws' office, so. Okay, moving on. Colicky. So she said a lot of people say that their baby's colicky and the baby is not colicky. It can be a lot of different things, but she said to tell if your baby's colicky, it will be the same time every day, like clockwork, and it does not last the whole day. So colicky is a specific time. She said newborns cry an average of 5 hours for every 24 hours. Cool. I have that to look forward to. My husband was super excited about that fact. Lactation specialists can be a doctor, a nurse, or a regular dietitian, and their number one goal is usually breastfeeding. So we did go over what lactation specialists do. Lactation specialists would come to your room in the hospital. At Brazelton, we only have one lactation specialist for all of Brazelton, so she's Monday through Friday, a good portion. So the only time I would not see her is if I delivered Friday night, because I would be released on Sunday afternoon if everything goes as planned. And she said if that does happen, usually you get a free follow-up where you can come back, and she'll give the number and she calls you and she seemed great. I really enjoyed her. I really liked her. So it was nice kind of meeting who I will be working with. And I already took 2 classes with her because she was our birthing class instructor and she's our breastfeeding class instructor. So kind of already created some kind of, I wouldn't say bond, but like acknowledgement, like I know who you are, you kind of know who I am, you've seen me a couple times now, so it's not like I don't know who's about to walk through my door. But generally, a lactation specialist will come to your hospital room to go over a little bit with you, make sure everything's going well, or a lot of nurses are certified to help or have been trained to help, and you'll only see the specialist if there's a problem. That's kind of how she explained it. For insurances, insurance has to cover lactation specialists, but usually you pay out of pocket and the insurance reimburses you. They don't want to pay the hospital, so they just pay you back. So that's how she explained the insurance side of it to us. Formula-fed mammals, because a lot of this was like talk about mammals. We're the only mammals who like choose not to give our babies our milk sometimes. I mean, I've known that fact and I know it doing health stuff. So none of this was a surprise to me, but I did learn that formula-fed mammals will survive, but they do not thrive. Breast milk can increase your IQ up to 10 points, so that's awesome. Breastfeeding goals. Know your breastfeeding goals before you deliver. My breastfeeding goals are to just strictly breastfeed at least for the first 4 weeks or so. I don't know. I'm sure it'll adjust, but I want to strictly breastfeed and I want to try and do it for up to a year. That's my goals now. That doesn't say that they won't change because they could. Human babies are most helpless babies at birth. Babies need touch and skin to skin. So yeah, human babies are the most helpless babies. Do not introduce a pacifier to a breastfed baby until 4 weeks old. That is what she recommends. And then only at bedtime or right after feeding, because they like the, it's comforting, the sucking is comforting for them. And she said if you'll see a problem of nipple confusion within 24 hours. And if so, take it away and you can try after 14 days of back on the regular just breastfeeding schedule. Same with the bottles. After 4 weeks, introduce bottles. And if there's nipple confusion and your baby stops wanting to breastfeed, then stop the bottles, strictly breastfeed again, so on and so forth. So that was super interesting to me because I did not know when and how to introduce bottles or pacifiers. So now I know, like, the first 4 weeks, none. And that also, that's going to be my plan. Your plan may be different. I'm just telling you guys what my plan is because I'm going to go by a lot of her recommendations. I'll tell you if mine's different. But so far, my plan is exactly how she suggests. And these are only suggestions. Obviously, there's a million ways to mother your child and they survive. Even if your birth plan is not breastfeeding, they survive. So it is okay and no judgment on my half. Skin to skin with mommy and daddy every day. My mom was with me in the class, like I mentioned, and she asked about sibling skin to skin, which I thought was a great question. She said, yes, it helps siblings bond. I need to know that, especially since my son is 8 already. Like, there is a big gap right there, so I'm really worried about the bonding. So we're going to do skin to skin with my son, and she suggested after my son takes a bath. Because yes, he has good bacteria that he'll give the baby as well. But being in school, there's added stuff. So she said just to be safe, just have the child take a bath first. Alright, your body's milk will change with color and substance as your body needs. For example, if you were sick, and let's say your baby's 6 months old, and your baby's sick or you're sick, I think it's when your baby's sick, but you'll create gold milk again, which is, has all of the good, sorry I'm itchy, has all of the good like antibodies and all that, and your body will just naturally produce that and give the baby what he needs. So I thought that was pretty cool. Milk is perfectly matched for your baby. So an example of that is if you have a large family, like a really tall family, or just a bigger family in general, your milk will have more fat and more protein in it, just naturally to tend to your baby's needs. I thought that was awesome. When your baby's 6 months, you'll have 6 month milk, like things in your milk for 6-month-olds, specifically growth and development. So I thought that was really cool. So that being said, she said be careful not to stockpile because you produce what your baby needs at that stage. So if you stockpile a lot, you don't want to give your baby like 2-month breast milk production when they're 6 months, because then they're not getting every single thing they need, because your body produces what they need at that moment. So that was very interesting to me, because I know a lot, like stockpile is a huge thing right now and a lot of people do stockpile. She said if you do end up stockpiling, you can donate to your hospital, because they end up needing to buy breast milk like they buy blood bags, or they need blood bags because there's some kids, preemie kids, or if the mom's sick and can't give the breast milk, so they do need donations. So if you have a lot of breast milk stored, if you have a stockpile and you don't need it, don't put it in your 5-year-old's cereal is what she said, donate it. So that's something I would do. I think that's awesome. Breast milk decreases SIDS up to 50%. Milk doesn't come in until after day 4 or at day 4. So basically, your colostrum is what you use for the first 3 days, and then your milk will come in while you're at home. So if your baby's tummy is like that, like it doesn't need very much in the beginning. So your milk will come in at the appropriate time and with the appropriate amount. You cannot overfeed your baby is what they said in the first 5 days, I think she said. Your breast milk has flavor of what you eat and prepares them for table food. So if I eat, she said like don't like do a bland diet, because what you eat the baby gets a taste of and they start getting ready to transition into regular food, and then they are able to eat more food. So if you do variety, your baby understands a variety, and it helps with them being not so picky eaters. Thought that was great to know. Breastfeeding helps the uterus shrink back down, helps you lose weight, helps you get healthier, and reduces ovarian cancer with each breastfed baby. That was really cool. So with Aiden, I try to breastfeed, so I don't know how that works. But so if I breastfeed this baby, it drops my chances of ovarian cancer, and then the next one just adds to that and drops my chances even more, because it creates good antibodies in your body is what she said. And I just think it's amazing all these things that breastfeeding can do. It's good for families on the move because it's easier and you don't have to heat it up at night, and you don't have to pack the bottles and keep them at a certain temperature and the formula and all that. So it goes with you. That was the moral of that. This goes with you. So it's easier to get out the door. It's also easier at night because you don't have to go warm up a bottle. You have 1 shot with every baby to lay down milk-making cells. You cannot overfeed the baby in the first 5 days. So if your baby acts like it wants to eat, let it latch. If it needs soothing, let it latch. Even if it's not sucking, she said, let it latch, because every time it latches, it creates these milk cells. Like it lays down these milk cells to help you produce breast milk even better. So she said, every single time your baby looks like it's fussy, wants to eat, let it latch. So I thought that was very interesting. There's a lot I did not know about breastfeeding. 8 years ago, it wasn't. I had a specialist come. She gave me a nipple guard. I struggled. Aiden has trouble latching. Nothing was recommended to me after that. So when we went home, it was even more frustrating because I didn't know what I was doing. And I would have him at half an hour in each boob, and he wasn't getting any milk. And I didn't know what to do. Nothing was recommended to me. So I love that this is like a huge thing now. And I learned so much, so hopefully this goes a lot better. Letdown is when you can feel like your milk come down. It shows you that it's time for the baby to feed. So this is when, like, if you hear a crying baby, you will leak because your breast milk gets let down. Even if it's not your baby, your breast milk will get let down. She said, like, press and hold for firm, like this, just cross your arms and press and hold your nipples hard for a firm, like, 10 to 15 seconds, and it should stop. But that's how you know it's time. So if you're pumping, or you're planning on pumping, or going back to work, and you need breast milk, she said bring a picture of your baby, bring something to smell of your baby, a video, something to help bring your milk down. So like the smell of your baby or just like hearing your baby will help get that milk, so make it easier to pump at work when your baby is not there. That was very interesting too. Don't pump too much because it's supply and demand. If you over pump, you're going to produce more, then you're going to have to keep pumping. She said, but also same if you've pumped and you stored it and your baby feeds, you need to pump when that baby feeds because, or else you'll stop producing. So it's supply and demand. Liquid gold. So the colostrum that I was telling you about that you have in the beginning, they can buy this stuff for preemie babies. Like I said, if the mommy's sick and can't for some reason breastfeed, if the mommy's sick and for some reason cannot breastfeed, they can buy the liquid gold or the colostrum. It is $300 per ounce. Wow. So like, I literally have gold going on in here. So that's how important it is, and that's how, I can't believe people pay $300 an ounce for that stuff. But I mean, it's what's super important for your babies. So even if you're not going to breastfeed, she always recommends giving the gold milk, or the first couple days just trying to breastfeed, getting something into that baby to help it with growth and production and stuff like that. If your baby has a stuffy nose, put a drop of the colostrum or milk in each nostril and the baby will be able to breathe. It'll help fix it, so drop of milk in each nostril. I thought that was interesting. So basically, your breast milk gives you baby everything it needs. If you haven't gotten that so far, that's like the general gist of all this. The baby is so, if you overfeed your baby, like if you start giving your baby, I told you the baby's tummy is like that big in the beginning, and if you try and give your baby like 2 ounces bottle and it takes it all, it's overfeeding your baby, and the baby associates overfull as a normal thing, and that's where we get obesity. So that's why you have to be careful with bottles. Your breast milk will only produce what the baby needs. Bottles, you have to be more careful because you don't want to overfeed and that become a natural thing. Feeding cues are given by the baby. The earlier you catch these cues, the calmer and easier your baby is to latch, and easier later on in life. So, the first thing is the baby will roll its eyes and flick its eyelids, because babies lay there and they're always not sleeping, but everything's so bright that they keep their eyes shut. Second, your baby will start to wiggle. Third, your baby will put his or her hands in the mouth or eat a blanket or do something to show like, okay, I'm ready to eat. The fourth is a vocal burst and then a hush. So basically it'll grunt or go, ah, and then nothing. And then so you listen, you're like, okay, well, I guess the baby's not awake yet. No, that's a cue, meaning come feed me. And that is the final warning call before crying its eyes out, saying feed me. So I'm going to look for those cues before, because obviously I don't want my baby to associate hysterical crying with feeding. She said, watch the cues. You don't want to miss feeding time. Baby will learn which cue you respond to, and it helps with their behavior. So if you only respond to the baby wailing its eyes out, it's going to go from rolling its eyelids to wailing its eyes out and skip everything in between, because it knows, babies are smart, it knows, mommy will feed me if I cry hysterically. Sorry, I'm going really fast. My battery's about to die and I have so much. When the baby is actively crying, calm the baby first before putting it to the breast, because if you try and put it to the breast right away, all it does is kind of bob, and then the baby gets frustrated and you get frustrated, so soothe it and calm it down first. And that also helps it realize that feeding time is a calm time and it doesn't need to be hysterical. Don't watch the clock for feeding, watch your baby. After 14 days, you do not have to wake the baby up for feeding. All personnel who is authorized to do anything with the baby will have a pink badge. At least in my hospital, she said if they even want to touch the baby, they'll have pink on their badge. And no one should take the baby out of the room. That was something that was said. And also they have like alarms for like if the baby gets too close to the door. I think this is most hospitals. They had it with Aiden too. Their like little wrist thing like sets off an alarm if someone tries to take the baby, cut it off, or they get too close to the door. Feeding time will start at the beginning of the feed, so if you start at 6, you should start the feed again at 9 if the baby didn't eat before. Eat a balanced diet, drink at thirst, bring your breastfeeding pillow with you to the hospital. And during my hospital bag video, I will show you what my breastfeeding pillow is. Oh, so this is like one of the most interesting things ever. So you know the line, the dark line on your stomach, it has a proper name, but for the love of me, I can't remember it. But that dark line going down from your belly button, it's brown, and your nipples are brown because the baby sees in black and white colors at first. So the idea of that line is if you lay your baby on your stomach, it will crawl its way up to the boob. Same with the chest. It'll find its way. It'll crawl. She said babies are strong, very strong, and it's called self-attachment. And we watched a video on it. Oh my God, when she said that, I was like, yeah, maybe like the 1800s that was a thing. No, it's 3-day-old infants. She showed us a video. There's probably one on YouTube. This baby lifted up its arms and head, a 3-day-old baby, and started moving its way down to the nipple, and it self-attached itself. That's pretty cool, you guys. Like, that is really cool. So self-latching. When you are in bed, so let's say this is my bed, and I have the baby in a cradle right here. I want the head of the baby by my feet. She said that way so that you can see the baby's face and you're not looking at the baby's top of the head. And that it makes it easier to pick up for feeding time at night. So nighttime feeding. Don't turn on the lights. Don't change the baby right away. She said feed one side, burp the baby, then change the baby, and then feed the other side, and then swaddle the baby and back to sleep. So she said you keep it dark and quiet so the baby knows that nighttime is nighttime, not time to wake up and party. And I thought it was interesting. Most people you hear, they feed one side and then they'll remember just start on the other side. She said no, feed both sides. And she said even if your baby's done on this side and doesn't do much on that side, it kind of kicks it in. The baby will get some out, and it's just I forget the whole reasoning, but she said do both sides. So basically you feed on this side, and then you change and burp the baby, and then you feed on the other side. And then the next time around when you start feeding, you feed on the side you left off at. So if I left my last feeding ended on my right side, I start on my right side. And she said the daytime, keep everything bright and noisy so that the baby knows that that's the active time of the day. Always breastfeed each side. Start on the last side you left off on. Change a burp in between the breast switch. She said do that even during the day too. In between, burp and change in between the breast switch. Because it's just a good habit to create, especially since that's the way you want to do it at nighttime. She said you don't want to change the baby first unless there's like a leak or explosion. Oh, you line the nose up with your nipple. So you don't line the mouth up, you line the nose up with your nipple. You tickle the baby's nose and mouth with your nipple to get it ready and to open up, and then it'll all just kind of happen. The nipple should sit in the back of the baby's mouth. So if you take your tongue and you rub it on the roof of your mouth, start from your teeth and go back, there's like a soft pad in the back before you reach your throat. That's where the nipple should sit. That's how much of the boob goes in the baby's mouth. She said like if it shouldn't be like a pinching or a discomfort. Like it should, that's like nipple sucking, and nipple sucking is not what you want. You want a whole good latch. So the nipple should be way far back. Your hand should be on the back of the baby's neck and shoulders, not the head. If you put your hand on the baby's head, you might have trouble latching because the baby takes that as you threatening their airway, because it's almost like you would push. I didn't make it. My battery died. So I had to wait and charge it for like 10 minutes. So hopefully I can get this done. Where did I leave off? Oh, I think I left off with the threatening the airways. So, don't put your hand on the back of the baby's head because it threatens their airway. I mean, I hate to like, never mind, maybe I shouldn't say it. I just think about like ladies, like you get it. Like you don't want a hand on the back of your head pushing you. So, if there is their airways, it feels like that they're going to be suffocated, so they will pull away or they'll give you trouble latching. There's a football hold where you hold like the head here and then the body goes through the arms right there, and that gives you like an extra hand to work with the rest of the day. So that's a position you could breastfeed in. Wide mouth means a good latch, so if you see the baby has a wide mouth, it's a good latch. The nose and the chin of the baby will touch the boob during feeding, so she said it looks scary, but it's good. They can still breathe because they have flat noses. And she said you'll have to have your husband or whoever help you to see if it's a good latch, because when you look down, all you're going to see is this, and because your boob's in the way. So I kind of went over that with Patrick. Create a routine and items near your nursing area. Have a snack, drinks, pillow, a stool for you to put your feet on. She said you want to drink a lot of water while you're breastfeeding, like during breastfeeding. If it feels like just a suck, not pinching or tender, that is proper breastfeeding. But if it is pinchy or tender, it is a bad latch. So it means they just have your nipple. Remove a latch by taking the finger and put it inside the mouth. Do this if the latch is wrong to retry properly, or if you need to break the latch for any type of reason. Basically, like you fish hook them. Just go like that. And then you can just retry. But she said if you try to like pull the baby away, they're strong and like they have these like sucking pads in their cheeks, and it'll hurt your nipple. So try not to just pull the baby off. When you're shopping or looking for bottles, you want one with a wide base to imitate like a breast. I think I registered for the Tommy Tum, is that right? It's on babylist.com. I will, I have a few coming in the mail, so I'll show them. But, it's like a wide, soft, it's supposed to resemble most like a breast. Okay, almost done, you guys. So the first 14 days, you wake the baby up to feed every 2 to 3 hours. And she said this is important because they need the nutrition to survive, so it's very important 2 to 3 hours they feed for the first 14 days. After 14 days, you don't have to wake them every 2 to 3 hours. They should be able to eat on their own every 4 hours, she said, but do not let them sleep through feeding still. You want them to eat every 4 hours, but you don't have to wake up as constant because they should do it on their own. After 28 days, do not wake the baby to feed. So this helps wean the baby, she said. And after a month, your baby should be sleeping through the night. This helps for that as well by doing the feeding every 2 to 3 hours, then every 4 hours. And then after 28 days, don't wake the baby at all. That's my plan. We'll see how that goes. I'll let you guys know. If your nipple has cracks and bleeds, it's a latching problem. 30 seconds of discomfort and then it's a good like sucking and doesn't hurt anymore. That's just chafing, nipple chafing, and that is completely normal. The cracking and bleeding and like huge discomfort is probably a latching problem. That's not normal. She recommended, I think she called it Landolot. It wasn't like up on the screen, so I'm just going by what she said. It's like a wool paste. If you know what it is, let me know or tag it below. But I think she called it Landolot, and it's like a wool something. It is supposed to be good on your nipples, and it's okay for the baby to breastfeed with and all that. If you are allergic to wool specifically, then use olive oil is what she suggested on your nipples. And then she gave us her number. So, whew. Hopefully it's not a long video. I know I went through that like boom, boom, boom. But it was 1, 2, 3, 4 back and forth pages of notes. It was a lot of stuff. I found this class a lot more interesting than the birthing class. I think with the birthing class, a lot of it is situational, a lot of it is kind of instinct, or they'll talk you through it, and I kind of knew some of it going in. Breastfeeding, I'm not as up to date because with Aiden, I didn't produce enough milk, which now I know is due to a latching problem. I probably didn't get those cells in place because he wasn't latching properly. So I learned a lot. I think it's awesome. I'm going to try and breastfeed, but my motto is the second she can ask for the milk, I'm done. Like, I'm done breastfeeding. If my child starts asking for my boobs, I'm like, no, that's my area. So personally, the second my child starts saying boobs or milk or like trying to get to it herself, I think I'm done. But we will see. That might change. So you guys, I hope this was informative. This is all about my breastfeeding class, and I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I'm super stoked, and I feel a lot more comfortable about breastfeeding. So hopefully this helps you guys too. And you'll see my journey, so I'll let you know the ups and downs or if I'm having trouble with anything else. But until my next video, which will be my 36-week update, because I'm about to be 37 weeks. See you then. Bye, guys.